We are live. Okay, let's start the recording. Okay, would you like me to send you the link on Twitter as well? Would you like to share it?
For the recording or the YouTube live?
YouTube live.
Sure, yeah.
Conversation. That is the YouTube link.
All right, got it.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Take your time, share the link, and then we can, totally be here.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I have the live chat turned on as well. So, yes.
Hello.
Hi, Maria. Thank you for joining me on Slice of Life today and on one of the very important topic, inner child. Inner
Yeah.
child, wow. Okay, yeah, let's start off with a small introduction. Maria, would you like to introduce yourself? What do you do? And yeah, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm Maria. I am mostly doing tarot reading on Twitter. I really like to connect with people in that way and in any way, really. I've been on my own spiritual journey. I mean, obviously for a long time, but like really focusing on it in the past like 3 or 4 years. And I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your time and wisdom with us. Thank you
Oh,
so much. I appreciate that.
absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, so today we'll be talking about inner child, which is, I think it is one of the big topic, but mostly get lost by a lot of people. It's like because it just doesn't seem as important, like
Mhm.
a lot of people. Yeah, so do you have any insight, anything you like to share with the listeners today?
I feel like the phrase inner child is something it's becoming like a buzzword. Like a lot of people you hear that, but what does it really mean? And like I feel like also a lot of people, unless you really delve into psychology or therapy or whatever, you don't really know like what do you do to heal your inner child. So I feel like getting people's perspective, like normal people, if you will, from you and me, like knowing, oh, we've been through it. This is what we're doing, and we found what like kind of works, and we're figuring it out along the way as well. I think that's really valuable. Yeah, and it's just something that everyone we've all been a kid before, we've all been there, and we've all like been hurt in the past. It's just something it's so valuable to work on within yourself.
Totally. Yeah,
Mhm.
and inner child is not about I know a lot of people like hear about inner child, maybe they think about, oh, that means like, being childish or, doing something that, you love back then. They'll be like, that is not very helpful, not very useful. Like, why would you do something that you do back then? And it's just like a lot of us too, I think we also prefer to bury the past. I think
Mhm.
that is another thing that is always coming up. Like, yeah, the past is the past. We don't want to remember them. So we will be burying them and then we won't, we don't want to touch that. It
Mhm.
a little bit on like shadow work as well. But of course it's more on like shadow work is another topic. We will touch on another day. But yeah, um inner child, I believe that there is a little bit of shadow work going in there, so just a little bit.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, so much of what has happened to us in our childhood will affect us now, and like even our personality, how we treat others, how we treat ourselves. So I do, yeah, it definitely involves shadow work, especially if you feel like inner child healing is something that's really important to you. I feel like you have to confront your past. We as humans do have a tendency to bury our past, bury our memories. We don't want to go back to old emotions. We want to like look towards the future. What can we do now? What can we go and progress towards? And that's wonderful. But if you have things hindering you from the past, I mean, you're not going to be able to move forward how you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like how she put it. It's like we are always going to carry that burden, that baggage with us, no matter where we go. And a lot of times I do think that inner child, like our relationship with the inner child, it will be play out in our relationship to those around us as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I how people say like you see your parents or your caregivers or what have you. That's your first relationship with humans in this body, like with those people. And so you're going to model how they treat you, how you treat them with the people around you now. Unless you do that conscious work to try and change that, if that's not how you want to treat people anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also expectation also come in because yeah, as you mentioned, like, the relationship with our parents, with our caretaker, there is a lot playing in there.
Mhm.
There could be a lot of habits, like expectation, like how we should behave as well, not just like how we expect other people to treat us, but how we expect ourselves to behave, like
Yes.
in a relationship. So yeah, that really, really affect a lot.
Yes. You definitely, like you said, your caretakers, whoever they may be, will put these expectations on you. They most people, you hope they want the best for you, but maybe that'll get misconstrued, and you have your own personality, your own soul, and that wants what it wants. You're being thrown these things, and it'll just muddle up inside you. And I feel like so many people will just, like you said, bury their past, they'll bury their emotions, but that doesn't make it go away. If anything, it makes them stronger. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It does make them stronger. It's just that it is so hidden underneath the surface that we avoid seeing them. That is the thing. We avoid seeing them, and then we will be like, "Hey, why is this thing or this relationship doesn't work?" And we can't figure it out because it's just something that we do not want to see. Because yeah, that was a pain there.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we want to avoid pain because it hurts. No one really wants to hurt, but there is necessary pain if you, like I said, want to progress towards something else. You need to feel those emotions. And I feel like when you really full heartedly feel them, it's easier for them to be freed and you feel freer.
Exactly. I love how you put it. I like that.
Thank you.
Set them free, and then you'll be freer.
Mhm.
Exactly. And yeah, a lot of us just didn't want to deal with it. Like, yeah, I always like to use in this case it just remind me of Elsa because I love Frozen.
I've actually never seen it.
Ah, okay.
I know.
It's all good. It's all good. But it's just that to me she's doing a lot of shadow work, and her kind of like shadow started born during her childhood when she actually accidentally hurt her sister.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
yeah, something like that. It's like a guilt that she carries with her. And she grows up, she feels like she has to restrict herself in order to not hurt anyone else. But because she's restricting herself so much, she is hurting more people.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. It goes
yeah,
deeper than just a Disney movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a chance, please go and take a watch it. I will highly recommend it.
I definitely need to. But yeah, that definitely makes so much sense. Even like in a broader spectrum, you do one thing in childhood and you're like, oh, that hurt a lot. I'm not going to do that for the rest of my life. And then whatever it may be, that'll just hold you back somehow. Whether it be like crying. So many people don't want to cry or they won't admit they want to cry or anything. But it's so important. I I am the opposite, honestly. I cry every 2 hours. I cry all the time.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe not
admire
every
you.
2 hours, but every single day I cry.
Oh,
um,
yeah,
yeah.
I admire that. I admire that. I have to say, I'm a Capricorn, so tears, let's hide them.
And I'm a Cancer, so you know how it goes.
Yeah, it's a season. Like, hey,
Yes. Very happy to be here. um, yeah, I always try and tell people, or like people even see me cry and they'll be like, I think it normalizes it a little bit, to see someone else cry. Like it can be uncomfortable to see someone display such vulnerable emotion, but I have had people tell me like, oh, you cry so much that like it's made me feel like it's okay for me to let that out, for me to cry. um, and I think that's a good way of getting things out.
yeah, I love that. I really, really do love it, and I do admire like cancers and Pisces. They just, turn on the dam and just like, just like I don't know how to cry sometimes. Because I do have the experience of my caretaker try to tell me that stop crying because when I'm crying, I'm either like weak or that I'm too, in a way, it's like too troublesome for them to take care of me because I'm crying. So yeah, I still have that part. I haven't really figured out how, but one way for someone like me, those of you out there who can't cry, if you need any soft movies or crying movies, sad movies, just reach out to me. I have tons of those.
Oh,
For emergency.
I have a friend and that's the way they cry. Like, they're not really like, oh, I'm in the heat of this moment, I'm gonna cry. It's more like, yeah, they need to watch a sad movie or something and then they'll let it out. And then it's like all the other emotions come out. And I mean, that's a good way to like break the barrier. But I feel like so many people do, they have caregivers who say like it's not okay to cry, just get over it, you're being weak, there are more important things to worry about. And like in reality your emotions are so important and that creates this barrier. And I know so many men in my life have told me that like there's this thing in society like men can't cry, men can't show emotions, and like anywhere where that like strength and the like that just strength in general is valued, they think it's not okay to cry. And like I
Very
don't know,
much.
it's kind of ridiculous to me in my opinion, but yeah.
Like basically, men can only display that feel emotions that including professionalism, straightness, what else? Anger is okay. Anger is okay for them to display, but not sadness, which
Right.
makes me.
Yeah, I
But they're
that's how.
humans.
Yes. Yeah, because thinking about it, like there are all these emotions, we all experience them and we all let them out in different ways or show them in different ways, but we're all experience them. And bottling it inside will just require more inner child healing because that's like another layer on top of layer that's stacked within you and you're not letting it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Mhm.
like I do recently, like after after I my spiritual awakening, I think that was around 2018-ish. I can't remember exactly. And I start unearthing so much of those childhood trauma, and not really say for like trauma. I have very strict parents who would just pick up anything and just start speaking those kind of traumas. Yeah, and I actually realized that I have a big portion of my childhood memories that is like not there until I unearth and face all these like traumas and face the demons and process the emotion, and then I remember. It's just like overnight. Oh, that happened.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I had my awakening, I think either 2017 or 2018. So like around that time too. And yeah, like I've had so many my memories, my mind has just repressed them because they're too painful to remember, and your mind is trying to protect you, and then suddenly you're like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready to face them, and then it's really hard. It's so hard to face all of them. And I think that's the reason why so many people avoid it, because it's so painful. But the way I look at it is if you don't face them, you're going to be in pain anyway. So you might as well do something more productive with your pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And very little people know that emotion that you repress and hid under the layers, they're actually hidden in your body. So as you grow and as you age, and you will find that, hey, why is a certain part of my body starting to ache so much, or it's not functioning? That's because we have so much energy inside there. It's just accumulated and accumulated, and there it goes. Yeah, I'm not saying
Oh,
100% all illnesses and pains are related to energy, but it is part of why. Yeah.
oh yeah, absolutely. I was even talking with my therapist yesterday, and I was telling her whenever I get anxiety, like my arms get numb, like they get like a staticky numb feeling, I guess. And like we talked about that more, and I realized why. And I was like, wow, I'd never put that connection together before. But she talks me through like so much of the energy in my body and how that's been affected by my past. And it's something I really never noticed before this year, but it's just been accumulating through my whole life. Yeah.
For me, I think my emotions are around here, this part. And I often have the bad habit of grinding my teeth. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that you might not notice at first, but when tap into your body more, when you are like awakening, then you are more spiritual, you would slowly get to notice this kind of pattern. And it is okay to, slow down and ask your body what memories was this part of your body holds. Yeah,
Hmm.
what emotion is it there? It is usually emotion that's, way from the past when you were, I don't know, 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and like even when you remember something and you get sad, like take a minute, close your eyes, breathe, and like, where in my body am I feeling this? And that's just like a beginning step. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way. That is
Mhm.
um, another one is that you can gently even like tap the body parts where you feel it. Yeah, I think that would help someone to like, yeah, help someone out there who is like trying to figure out how this works. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
inner child healing is a lot on self healing. No
Yes.
one can help you through this work. You have to be willing to face it. You really have to be willing to work on it.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
we can
You
get,
could, I'm sorry.
yeah, I was just saying that we can guide, but we can't like pull you through it, that kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's definitely so helpful to have people around you that can offer you comfort, support, or like professional help, whatever. But only you really know what's
Oops,
going on inside of you.
is it
Oh,
my side? Oh, no.
oh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Okay.
I've lost you for a bit.
Oh, am I back? Because you
Yeah,
froze, but you're back. Okay, cool.
yeah. I changed it to mobile anyway, so yeah.
Okay. um,
Being
you said
perfect.
only,
Yeah.
yeah, only you can really do that work. Yeah. um yeah, it's like the whole thing of people can want the best for you and all of that, but you need to want to help yourself, because you remember your memories, you know your emotions, you only know your thoughts. No one else can do that work for you.
Yeah. So that
it,
is, yeah.
it can feel
Like,
lonely sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, it does. It does. Especially if like your childhood time, when you feel when like for me personal experience is that my childhood time, no one understands me. So it actually added to that. But it really doesn't really matter whether people around you understand you. You understand yourself. I think that is a good way to start.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because I will talk about my past experiences in my childhood with people, and they're kind of like, oh, okay, I don't know what to say, but I love you. And like, that's okay. You don't need to know what to say, but I accept your love and your support because I know I'm there for me and I know how to deal with my own emotions now. It takes a long time to learn how to really, at least it did for me, how to manage my emotions, especially my anxiety. Um, but doing that work was so worth it. Yeah.
And this brings us to reparenting your inner child. I think that is what you mentioned. Yeah. So anything like you would like to start on this?
So
Yeah.
I told you before, I have my little list here, but so I think something that is very important is giving yourself what you weren't given in your childhood, um, especially emotionally. If no one was there to hold you when you cried, hold yourself. If no one told you when you're having anxiety, it's okay, just breathe through it. You need to tell that to yourself. I feel like talking to yourself, even out loud or in your head, is very helpful. Um, if you can even like look at your inner child as like a separate person for a little bit if you wanted to and be like, okay, this is a little 7-year-old in front of me. What would I do if this 7-year-old was in front of me? Would I hug them? What would I do if they were upset? Yeah.
Absolutely. That is
Mm.
one of the very helpful way for me to go through this as well. I talk to myself a lot. Like when I need that comfort, my own voice become my own comfort. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, if you guys, if anyone watching is like my own voice is not comforting for me, well, you can go on like YouTube. There are some of the very nice video that you can feel comfort. Like some of them is like for ASMR. That I actually listen. Like having a mother figure tucking us to sleep. That is a comfort. If you need that, you can go and search for that. Like there are someone out there who's trying to, give you some sort of comfort that you can find.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, I feel like that, yeah, that sense of comfort, especially because that's what you want from your caretaker, your parents, whoever they may be. You want that sense of comfort and safety. And when you don't have that, that's when these like wounds start to happen. So if you can offer that to yourself now, that's very healing for your inner child, that reparenting, you
Mm.
being your own parent. And it can be hard, at least like it has been for me, realizing I'm more on my own in that respect, that I don't really feel like I have parents to take care of me, but knowing I have myself is it's comforting. It's not to know that I'll always be there for me.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one more thing I like to add on, like reparenting yourself. You don't have to reparent yourself the way your parents or your caretaker parents you. So called reparent yourself is be that parent you want to have when you are younger. Like that is very important. Like do not yell at yourself when you make a mistake or when you make a mess of things that you like to do. Like yeah, sometimes I do like, oh, let's have art and craft and like bring out everything and make a mess of it. And I'll be like, oh no, I need to clean up afterwards. Like why am I making a mess? So that is the time where you can stop yourself and remind yourself like, hey, you don't have to be so hard on yourself. This is you having fun and playing.
Yes, absolutely. Being gentle with yourself. Yeah, because like what I thought of when you said you had very strict parents, so did I. I wasn't really allowed to go out very much or hang out with my friends or something. So something like I have a Sagittarius moon too, so I'll take care of myself and like reparent myself by like being like, okay, you are free, go do what you want, and like my play is going out and being in the world, being in nature, go travel, that kind of thing. But yeah, when you make a mistake, don't try and be gentle with yourself. How would you, if there was a 5-year-old in front of you who knocked over a glass and made a mess, would you start yelling at that child? I personally wouldn't. I would be like, it's okay, let's clean it up. And you should talk to yourself the same way.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of us do have that ingrained, like when we make a mess, we have to, start getting mad at us, like ourselves especially. So that is the first step. If you really need an easy way to start inner child healing, I think that is the first step. Start being gentler with you.
Yes, absolutely. Because for so long I had that voice in my head that was just so mean to myself. Especially when I made a mistake, because I wasn't allowed to make mistakes as a child. But now I'll make a mistake. I'm like, okay, how can I learn from this? And at the same time, like laughing at it a lot is what helps me. I was like, oh, I knocked over that glass. That's so silly. I'm so silly. That kind of thing. Instead of, oh, I'm so dumb. I can't believe I did that. Blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, laughing at yourself as well as another good way. Yeah, because I think when we were younger, we all do that. Like when we make a mess, we just laugh at it. Like
Yeah.
it's just fun, bringing back a little bit of like fun into the life instead of making everything so restricted. Yeah,
Yes.
which is how a lot of us live. Like I look back at my life right now, I'm just like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, having fun. That's such a good way to help with your inner child too. Because kids, what do? They want to play. And like we began the podcast with you saying that like people think inner child, oh, just do kid things. What is that going to help? But what about the things that made you happy when you were a kid? Like I didn't have a phone when I was a kid, so I went out and played in nature and I read books, and those things still like they make me like my soul so happy to this day.
Yeah, and yeah, for me it's like art and craft. As I mentioned, my caretaker was super strict, so they don't like making a mess. So when I have fun, I just like let's break out the colors. Like just have some fun. Like I do teach about inner child in energy course that I have energy study, and one of the exercise that I like to give like everyone who's listening, like if you can, okay, just take about 5 minutes, sit down with yourself and think about what you enjoy doing when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then continue from there. Okay, pick one or two that you feel like you still enjoy doing right now, you still enjoy doing, not something that right now you totally think that is too childish or anything, but yeah, maybe it's like drawing, maybe painting, maybe reading, maybe watching animation show, something like that, and start doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
that alone is very, very helpful for you to connect back with your inner child, I feel.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because you have that duality of connecting to the pain of your childhood and trying to reparent that, but at the same time, like, okay, I'm connecting to the part of me that I liked as a child. I liked that I read books. I liked being out in nature, and I loved that I was just so silly. I'm still a very silly person, so I like connecting to that part of myself, and they're so cohesive together. And I think it's good to recognize the both parts of that inner child healing, the good and the bad, if you will.
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, I don't see anyone on the chat yet. So if you guys have any questions as well, please feel free to drop them on the chat, and we'll get to you. So yeah, like reparenting, like anything that we should add over there.
I think like identifying your triggers now as an adult, and see how they link back to your childhood.
That is a big one.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the part where you will feel the of the inner child healing. But
Yes.
don't worry, it's all good.
I'd say it's one of the hardest parts for me, honestly. Because I'll just find myself getting upset over something that's really not that big of a deal. And then I sit with myself, okay, why am I upset right now? Why am I crying? Why am I shaking? And I'm like, oh, it's because that happened in my childhood. And it's reminding me of the emotion I had at that time. And it's not the exact same thing, but this is what it reminds me of.
Yeah. That your triggers link back to that childhood wounds. That happens to me quite a bit as well. And yeah, the last time I figured it out, I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
my whole life, I've been alive.
Oh. Oh my God, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Like what we are doing right now, just laugh at it sometimes. Like allow yourself to laugh at it. It is silly. Like things that
mhm.
you do now is silly. And we are human. We are all silly. We are all, how to say, very funny in a way, in that way of making mistakes. So allow yourself to laugh at it, and then you will see the humor in this situation, and that would actually help to like immediately bring the healing in. Like you don't
Oh,
even need to worry about how to heal. Like as you laugh, you're already healing it.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's been a couple times I'm just thrown into a situation that's like it's difficult, but it's funny to me because I'm like, okay, universe, I see what you're doing. That's so funny. Good job. And I'm just laughing in the midst of like dealing with this thing. Um, so it's definitely very healing, just to, like smile and laugh. Just as it's important to cry, like the duality there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like honor the emotion, and regardless how bad it seems, it really like it's no big deal. This
Hmm.
is human life. Like why are we making everything such a big deal? It's like, yeah, what's the mistake? The mistake is not going to cost you $1 million. So go with
Exactly. Yeah, I'm driving down the wrong road. I take the wrong exit. Oh no, it's going to take me 10 extra minutes to go where I need to go. How is it going to help me if I'm just like screaming about it or something like that? Like maybe I'll be a little upset, but I'm like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. But if it triggers you that much, you can also look back and be like, okay, where is that trigger from? Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
Mhm.
where's the trigger from? That is a
Mhm.
very good way to start. Like because we do get triggered, like especially when we started on like just started on this journey, we do get triggered like every other day.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. um, oh yeah. When I first started my spiritual awakening and journey, it was like every which way there was a trigger, and I was just so upset. I was extremely anxious all the time, and it was just so hard. And I was also around people who weren't very supportive of me, and they didn't like when I learned what boundaries were. I realized I need to start putting them because I had no boundaries in my life. And these people were not happy when I started putting down boundaries. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned it. Boundaries is another very important for inner child healing because yeah, I do think that most of us when we're younger, our boundaries got broke down quite like literally. I don't. I think plenty of us like struggle with boundaries, especially with those with very strict parents or very controlling parents. You will literally have no boundaries and just agree with what everyone says because you want
Yes.
to be safe. Like that is basically the trigger there is that probably during your childhood, your parents are very strict, and then when you say no to what they tell you to do, you will either get yelled at or beaten or in some way made not safe. So your boundaries got broken down. That's basically what it is.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Being with strict and controlling parents, you're not allowed to say no. At least that's what you learn. You're not allowed to say no. And then you grow up and you don't say no to people. You just say yes, yes, yes. And eventually you're just weighed down by everything. And I had a problem in the past. I would start to resent people. And then I realized like I'm resenting them when I'm the one who said yes to them. I could have said no, but it's so hard to say no to people when you're used to saying yes to them all the time.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
that safety, um, like kind of like something that we say yes so to keep us safe. Because if we say no, we learn that from very young time that we will get, all sort of violent. So that
Hmm.
is the yeah, that is one of the very big inner child root problem, like kind of like a root inner child trauma there. So if anyone is struggling with this, I would highly recommend looking into where they come from first. Okay, is it from a caretaker? Is it from a parents? Is it from a teachers? Yeah,
Yeah.
authority of any sort, siblings maybe even. Yeah, so look back into that, but not to blame them, but in a way it says reclaim the power back and put up
Yes,
your boundaries right now.
absolutely. And I think it's also important to realize it's not your fault that these boundaries were broken in the past when you were a kid. It's not your fault that these people treated you this way, but it is your responsibility now to take care of yourself and reparent yourself and become the person that treats yourself well and treats others well. Um, yeah.
I love that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Because I was definitely, when I was a kid, my parents would say to me, we can do whatever we want to. You're a child and you have to do what we say and you can't say no, basically. So I grew up and I let people treat me however they wanted because I figured, oh, that's love. And it's not love. Um,
That's a big one
yeah.
too. Like the how to say, the mistaken type of love. Like we all taken like all the straightness, all those sometimes it's even unreasonable anger as a way that they care for us when we're
Mm-hmm.
young. Wow. That this would probably like allow us to have a lot of shitty relationship, I have to say, where we'll be
Yes.
like, that is love, but that is not love, but we mistaken that saying that is love. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, because I mean, you, especially before like a spiritual awakening or whatever, you will be in these relationships and friendships and like even people in your family, and you're just used to being treated that way. And then something clicks in your brain and you're like, wait, that's a mean thing for them to say. They're not respecting me saying no, or like, I feel like I can't say no to them. So what do I do? And you have to kind of navigate your way through this relationship or friendship. And I lost a lot of friends along the way. But I built myself up to a place where I made friends and relationships in my life where people really respect me. And I feel like I can say no to them if I want to.
Yeah. That is very important to have that
Mhm.
support system.
Mhm.
So it's not to ask everyone here, like, cut out your friend, but I think it's very important to be a judge for yourself whether that relationship is serving you or they are just a trauma response that you feel like this person is love you or this person is safe for you to love.
Mhm. Yes. Is this person convenient for you because yeah. I look back on my past friendships and I look at them and I'm like, oh, this is part of my past. They had qualities that maybe my parents had or my siblings had. And that's why I wanted to be friends with them because my mind wanted that familiar thing. But suddenly I wanted something new when I went through my spiritual awakening. And I became very lonely because I lost so many friends. And that's why I think a lot of people say the spiritual path, it tends to be a lonely path because your mind is going different ways from the people that you used to have in your life.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Like even now I do have friends like that I click with, and I have my Twitter community. I appreciate every one of you. At the same time, if you're asking, like, I'm not going out, I'm not hanging out, I'm not out partying anywhere because basically I don't have friends like those friends that I used to hang out and do all that. They just doesn't align with me anymore. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I used to like them. I used to think that I should try to fit in, but I think every one of us who are on this path, you are not meant to fit in. Like, let's
Mm-hmm.
face it, it's not your path. Your path is to be you and walk your path and shine as brightly as you are.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the universe, you'll either realize that on your own or the universe will kind of give them a little shove out of your life. At least that's what happened to me. And like, because you're clinging so tightly to them and you're not accepting that you're on a different path now. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I would say like I understand everyone who's listening and feeling this way, and Maria as well, like sending hugs and love, but you're not alone. Like, no matter how lonely we feel, we are not alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may feel lonely sometimes, but you're never alone. Because, like I said before, we all feel the same emotions, caused by different things, but we all feel the same emotions. And it makes me feel less lonely to know that other people understand these emotions I have as well. And you may not be with someone physically right now, like in this room, you may not be with someone else, but you're not alone.
Yeah. Like, sometimes I do also feel like I'd rather be like, on this path on my own and have healthy relationship with myself, with my friends, and if any romantic relationship have to be a healthy one, otherwise I don't want that.
Mhm.
That is the boundaries. Like, eventually you figure them out and you set for yourself and you won't take nothing less. I think that is a very important part. Like, you come.
Yes. That path of like you find out what boundaries are, you find out what boundaries you want to put in place, and then you don't settle unless people are okay with your boundaries. But if you say no to someone about something and they kind of like blow up on you or whatever, maybe take a look at that relationship, see if that's something you still want in your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of, if you need to do it, do it. Like, I know it sounds bad, but if you need to do it, do it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because yeah, I had the mentality before that, like, okay, these are my friends. I'm never going to find any other friends. So I have to put up with whatever they put me through. And that really wasn't the case. There are so many people around this world waiting to be friends with you who will treat you well and who will respect you.
That applies to, friendship, romantic relationship, or any partnership. You are not the rejected goods. Like, I think a lot of us do feel that way. It is how the society program us to be, or program us to feel that we have to be good enough, we have to fit in their boxes, otherwise we will be rejected goods. The school
Mm.
system is the way. Okay. So you are not. Like, please don't think that you are rejected goods. Like, we all have something special to offer to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it is up to you and likely the right person to see that.
Yes, absolutely. If it ends up not working out with someone romantically and you still want a romantic relationship, it's going to be out there, like some with someone somewhere. But I feel like if you're, example, looking for that one person, it may be hard to find them, but it's not something to give up on ever if that's what you really want. I think it was really helpful for me personally. I kind of made a list and I was like, okay, what do I want in a partner? Not necessarily physically, but like emotionally and mentally. How do I want them to treat me? How do I want them to be healed within themselves to a certain extent? I want to grow with them. Um, and also so many people, like, it's like a psychological fact, will look for in a partner how they like our caretaker in a partner, our parents. um yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely sought that out in the past, like before I started like really healing myself. I looked for people that were that like mean and controlling caretaker that I had before. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Otherwise, is that another that when you mentioned that, I just like jumping my mind jumping into that. When you were younger and maybe you don't have much of like parents' love, maybe your mother or your father is like away all the time, and you will be automatically searching for that kind of role in a relationship.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah, but yeah, that too.
Yes, that emotionally unavailable person, who's distant because that's what you're used to. And yeah, like that's your mind and your body. Like I said before, that's your first example of a relationship, yours with your caretaker. And then you're going to look for that in partners. Then I have seen a lot of people just get in unhappy relationships because of that. And they don't even realize, like, oh, it's because that's what I wanted. That's what I thought I wanted. I wanted that emotionally unavailable person or whatever.
I
Yeah.
was there, you know.
um,
Yeah, it's good. Like at least through this healing, I can realize and like admitting is the first step for you to heal.
yes.
Really. Yeah.
Mhm.
So you know where's your how to say flaws, and that is where you can nurture it. I don't see flaws as flaw. I see flaw as something that you can build up to be a strength. But it takes
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I was just talking about that yesterday, actually, because I look back on my past and like my flaws or my weaknesses or whatever, and then I was able to use that and make it become my strength. For example, I used to have really bad social anxiety. I would be so afraid to talk to people, and now I absolutely love talking to people and connecting with people. It's just like a complete 180. Um, so it definitely does take time. It takes, like you said, a lot of steps, but it's so worth it in the end.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah. You remind me of how I had like social anxiety, and I used to hate speaking in English because English is my learned language. I think it's like the third language or something. So I know I'm not perfect in English. And what I did when I did, I was just like, okay, let's push myself out there and apply for a retail job. Yeah. So yeah, sidetrack a little bit, but yeah, that reminds me a lot that like, you can still build something up. Like language, like speaking English is not something I'm strong at, but give yourself time. Okay,
Mhm.
it's something that I'll say it relates to me. I see it as relates back to where you're not confident. Like your inner child, like your childhood time, you could have things that you're not confident doing. So it is part of reparenting yourself and allow yourself to be confident in something.
Absolutely. Oh, and if I may say, your English is actually really great. I live in America, so I know I see the English speakers all around. You are really good at speaking English, but yeah. But yeah, absolutely. And you can almost like combine your like what you thought of as a strength and your weaknesses together. Like I loved writing, and now I love talking to people, and I feel like the way I'm able to articulate and just speak with people, I feel like I can get through to them and I'm good at listening. I don't know, like it all comes from childhood really. Because now I like to talk, but back then I like to listen a lot. um, and that goes together in connecting with people. And it's different for everyone, your own strengths and weaknesses, but you can use that to just like power yourself forward into the future and what you want to do for your life and your soul, if that makes sense. I don't know, I kind of just rambled there, but yeah.
I think it makes sense. Yeah,
Okay, good.
because yeah, like in the child healing, it really does help so much more. It helps you to build the future. Like
Yes.
yeah, a lot of people like look back at the past. It's nothing worth it to look at the past or something like that. But it's not just the past. It affects you now, and whatever affects you now definitely affect you in the future.
Yes. And like you said, that energy stays in your body. It's still there. Even if you try to forget it, it's still staying with you. Yeah.
So I love this conversation. Oh my,
Me too.
oh, what? Okay, that's a lot.
I know we went into so many things, but they're all so important.
Definitely.
Mhm.
So perhaps we can talk about like simple ways. I think we introduced a few, but do you have any tips for anyone who wants to look into inner child healing?
I would first say do some research online and find little ways that works for you. And like you said, identify things you'd like to do as a child and still like to do today. Because I think that may be one of the easier parts, delving into the joy of it. So that's a good beginning. Like find what you like to do first. Um, I also think like writing letters to yourself, your inner child and yourself now, um, especially since like writing in general is so good, like journaling. And that's a good way to kind of get a start there. Like, okay, what do I want to focus on in my journey of inner child healing?
Totally.
Yeah.
Journaling, or if for those of you, like those listeners who are not into journaling, which I am not, so I meditate a lot, and I actually not kind of like I'm not sitting and meditating. I'm more like kind of like moving around and then like having my mind running. That is my meditating, as well as talking to myself a lot, so that yeah, especially when you have emotion where you're trying to avoid a lot, that is something that I do. So I have emotion, I try to avoid it by either like spamming on my game or spamming on like Netflix or something, binging. That is when I would just like, okay, sit down. What are you feeling right now? And say that feeling out loud.
Yes,
Yeah. Like
absolutely.
just sit down there like, I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad. Like just make yourself like acknowledge that it is there. Because for me, especially for me, like I would bury it because I'm like, I don't want to feel that.
Yeah, recognizing your emotions are valid. They want to be heard and seen. Um, like that's a very great place to start. Just like look at your emotions. I also like that you said like a moving meditation. I do yoga every day, and when I first started, I was releasing this energy kept up in my body through yoga. So if you have some kind of like physical exercise or running or whatever you can do to get your body moving and let some of that energy go, I think that's a great start as well.
I love that. Yeah. Otherwise, if you do it the artistic way is well as well. Another that I like to do, well, put on the song that you really feel and sing it. Sing along.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Especially like I think so many people will feel silly when they sing and dance, but like if you're by yourself, who cares? Just like sing and dance, be silly, just like yeah, just be silly and be yourself. It's so much fun and like it gets you in a good mood. I know I like to sing and dance when I was a kid. I'll be alone in my room just playing a CD, you know. So yeah.
Pretending to be a superstar. It's
Yes.
okay.
um it's so I don't know, I love just that act of being silly will connect you with your inner child, and then you can start there from that positive ground and work your way up if you want to do shadow work and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Inner child is such a good place to start. Like start from inner child and cross it into deeper healing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because some of those healing you will need a lot of self-love. So finding the self-love through your inner child first, it will help you a lot, moving
Mhm.
forward.
Oh, absolutely. Self-love, that is such a big thing. Because that's something I really have had to deal with is and learn is just to learn to love myself. And I feel like if you are doing that really hard inner work without self love, it's so easy to kind of like be down on yourself and be like, oh, I went through that. It was so hard, and place blame on yourself or other people. Um, so I would say, really develop a practice where you learn to love yourself through meditation, yoga, or singing and dancing, whatever. And then if you get into an anxious or depressed mood from that inner work, you have an outlet after that to just not feel it so intensely, to be able to transmute that energy.
Yeah. So I do always do that as well. I do in shadow work a lot. And when I do that, once I'm kind of like, okay, I sit down there, I go through all my pain and everything, all the trauma and everything. I'll be like, okay, now what? Let's cook a meal. And then, as I mentioned, I like to put on songs and I just like to sing, especially songs, because I like to memorize the lyrics as well. So I kind of know what songs that is fitting the mood. If what I'm processing is a lot of repressed emotion, then I'll be putting on a song that will be like screaming like fuck yous and everything. Like
I just remembered something my therapist told me a while is to do a self-care sandwich. So you start with an active self-care, like meditating, and then you do some inner work. Maybe you journal about like some traumatic experience or a difficult feeling you had in your childhood, and then you do another active self-care.
I like that. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. Yeah, it's like, yeah, when I'm looking at it, it's like grounding, kind of like a grounding before you do inner work and then you do grounding again because it's so important.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because then you are reflecting on the past. So it can be easy to get stuck in the past, but you want to bring yourself back into the present moment. You need to acknowledge that your past and present are equally as important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Applause. I love that.
uh,
Oh yeah, I also want to touch on like this is so important for those of us who are doing tarot reading, for doing healing for others as well, because when we are touching on other people's inner child healing, the shadow work healing, I mean you is probably going to trigger yours as well. So self-care after before and after is so important.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you are doing that kind of energy work or tarot readings or what have you, make sure you are grounded, ready to go, well rested, that your body is capable and ready. And because I definitely know tarot readings they can drain me. You're tapping into another person's energy. And a lot of the time, people will come to you for that energy work because they're going through a difficult thing. So you're starting to take that on a little bit, and you need a way to be able to let that go and free it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on energy worker, I also feel that um, we do have a lot of time, like we do kind of like pick up other people's burden and carry them with us because of the boundary things that we discussed earlier. Like we can't say no, and we feel like okay, that is something that we need to do. Like this is our responsibility as a healer, but it's not your responsibility. So that comes to the boundary thing. So if anyone like feel that they exceptionally drained and be going through their clients or anyone's their growth period after the session, that is where you should or you can start looking into your childhood boundaries, where it was crossed and everything that.
Yes, absolutely. There's been a few times in my journey of reading tarot over the past few years that I've had to take like a month or two break because I'm like, okay, I'm dealing with my own things in my own life. I don't have the energy to take someone else's energy on and then provide a quality reading because I want to do the best I can. You're giving me your money and I want to give you your money's worth. And I can't do that if I'm just so drained from it. Um, and I've also learned for some readings I have to say no to. Like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. If I feel like I'm either not the reader for you or for whatever reason, but learning to say no to if people come to you for help, because there will be someone else out there that can help them, but it's not always you.
Mm, yeah. So for me, I see that a lot like boundaries and ability to say no, as well as yeah, it's like safe blanket that I mentioned before. I think where you feel like you have to take on the person's pain and their energy so that they can feel better, and that will prove that you are a worthy reader or healer or something of that such. That is like a seeking of approval. That is another inner child feeling that we can address from there as well.
Yes, absolutely. Like even you saying that, I think back to when I was a child and a teenager, I would take on other people's emotions and pain because my parents would do that to me. I was their like person to tell all their emotions and issues too. And I'm 7 years old taking all of this on, and no child should have to do that. But then you learn to do that as you're older, that you are people's safety blanket. And then you disregard your own feelings to take care of other people. And it just you can't pour into others' cups when you are empty yourself, when your cup is empty. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So yeah, and some of those tips, you guys can look into if you are if you are finding yourself like taking on other people's energy and pain. Like it happens to me so often as well. Oh hey, 11:11, I think.
Oh.
I was like, oh hi. Okay, I had like there was such a long time I was taking on other people's energy that I grow to hate human. If you ever understand what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is a big sign. Like if you're like, oh no, I don't want to go out because I hate humans or I don't want interaction, that is a sign that you are automatically, when you go out, you just absorb all the energies in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another good time that for us to like look back into the inner child wounds and where did it start? Like you will know where it is.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, especially when you are dealing with so much on your own, if you're already doing that inner child healing and you are in a more difficult mindset and energy, and then you're taking on everyone else's energy, you're going to feel so overburdened, overwhelmed. Learn to take breaks. I think a lot of people learn from their childhood, like, oh, I've got to go, 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 especially in our society today. Taking a rest and relaxing is looked down upon. It's a weakness almost, is what society tells us. They value work over your emotions and your mindset.
Like, yeah, I work in a country where we only have I like I work in a job where I have like 1 day off per week,
Oh,
and annual leaves is kind of like 10 days. So, like you can count how much off days you get. So
yeah.
it's always a go time. It's never pause and relax and smell the roses on the side of the road, that kind of energy. So important to take care of yourself, really. Take a break.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely learned to value that in life, my own free time and being able to, yeah, do the things I like you said, stop and smell the roses, value the little things in life. Unfortunately, yeah, I feel like societies all over the world, we are told we need to work because that's where our self-worth comes from. Otherwise, what you're doing is not important. Or you just need to work so much to live, to sustain yourself because you need money. And that's the reality for so many people. But if you can find little times throughout your day or get a day off or whatever and just do things that really make you feel good, I think that's so important and will replenish you so much.
For me, it's like even if like it's like 5 minutes or half an hour in a day, 5 minutes is short, half an hour in a day, that you can just enjoy, like make it your meal time, maybe. I mean,
Mhm.
eating is the enjoyment of life, like, or make it a shower time. Yeah,
Mhm.
and just allow yourself to enjoy just for 30 minutes. Take care of yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And I think meditating also helps with that. Even if you just have 10 minutes to meditate, that's going to help so much. Because then you're able to enjoy this little snippet of the human experience, while at the same time connecting with spirit and your soul. And I think that'll bring a lot more purpose to your life as well.
Uh, I love asking people to meditate as well. I actually encourage my mom into meditating, and I find that she's doing the inner work right now because she's meditating without her really knowing it. So I'm just like, okay, that's good job. Continue to meditate.
Yeah, absolutely. Quieting your mind for a little bit, that will it brings up a lot, but at the same time it soothes you, so it combines that together and you're like, okay, it can be helpful and soothing for me to do that inner work.
Definitely.
Yes.
Actually, as we mentioned, as we was talking, I actually had a thought pop into my mind. Inner child healing is not just about inner child where you were, I don't know, 0 to 12 years old. It's not just that period, but also your inner teenager years. Yeah, that
Yes.
that is a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
As
I've
through middle school, high school.
yeah, because you were still a kid back then. You're still
Yeah,
so young. And that's a period of my life that I do have a lot of repressed memories from. But I do remember just, yeah, those difficult times. And I think it's harder to bring that into the present, at least for some people. For me, it is. But yeah, looking back on those times as well, because school, high school, middle school were hard. I think for everybody, your body is going through so many changes and your mind is starting to develop and you're getting more pressure put on you because you're getting older. Oh, it's
yeah,
so hard during that time.
yeah. So that is a lot to unpack as well. So be more extra gentle with yourself. And I think for your inner teenage years, okay, inner teenage, okay, for the healing, it would definitely help to address like your achievement, like your overachievement issue, your body image issue that will be there. Yeah. What else? Anything else? Yeah, that you can unearth from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, body image issues. That I think really starts in that teenage part of your life because that's when people start focusing on it a lot. And then you're able to read like social media or like I saw it in like magazines or whatever when I was in high school, and people are so focused on you need to look like this, and you grow up still wanting to look like that. It's taken me a lot of work to try and get myself out of that mindset. Like, I want to be healthy and strong instead of just, oh, thin and pretty. Like, that's what's important, you know? And yeah, that's difficult too.
Yeah, exactly. One of the good ways that I use to work with my inner teenager is actually literally bring back your teenage pictures and start looking at them. Yeah, I think that helps a lot for me, but it can be triggering for some others.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Like, yeah, it can be helpful, can be triggering. It really just depends on person to person. Yeah, when I see pictures of myself as a teenager, I do get sad because I remember the sadness I felt at that time. Um, but I also feel like I was a very wild teenager. I kind of just did whatever I wanted because I grew up with strict parents and I got old enough and I was like, well, fuck you. I'm going to do what I want. And so I look back at that and I'm like, okay, I'm glad I got that part of my life, like that wild part away. And now I can be a healthier part of wild, if you will. Like I like traveling. And before pandemic, I would just like go on random trips. So that's another part. Like I look back on what I enjoyed at that time in my life, which was just being free, but I'm able to put that in this time of my life in a more healthy way.
I love that.
Mm.
Yeah, like I like the way that you are doing healing. Is like I'm going to bring um that part, like just pick part of them and then put it into a healthy way. I like that.
Yes. Because like I said, I like reading and being in nature as a child, but I would definitely also use that as like an escape. Because if I'm reading, I'm involved in this world that is not like this world. But now I'm like, okay, I can set aside like an hour of my day to reading rather than just completely being in another world all day.
I feel that. I can do that. I don't have to
Yes.
do that. When I read or when I binge movie, I know that there is something that hidden there. I will have to look at it. Yeah, but sometimes we still need the escape, like use the escape, but know that there is an end to every escapism. There's an end to every movie and every book. So come back to it. Come back to it when you are ready to deal.
Yes. Like
Have to be ready.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Like it's completely wonderful to enjoy your movie or your book or whatever, but don't use that all the time as a way to escape life and think like, well, if I watch this movie, it'll be fine. I can completely ignore everything else for the rest of my life. No, you can't.
Yeah, unless you're going to be a couch potato and live your life up. So yeah, I don't recommend.
And yeah, being an adult, well, I've got to do this to make money and, go to the store and buy things or whatever. Like you have this list of things to do as an adult. So you got to balance that your little escape, your little happy time, and then also your responsibilities.
Yes, balance. I
Yes.
think all healing come down to balance too.
Yes,
I like that.
absolutely. Yeah. Because some people will overdo it in some sections, like that escapism, or like exercising is really good. But if you over exercise or you over diet or whatever, too much of anything is not good.
Always.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I think that is a very good part. Do you have anything about inner child that you would like to mention about? We went over an hour for now. So
Oh, um, I think we covered everything, but like I really just, I want to emphasize, I think the most important part is starting with your feelings, really acknowledge your emotions, because that's really where your inner child healing will lie during your whole inner child journey. It'll be mostly based in your emotions and that energy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So be gentle with yourself when you are doing this inner child healing because it might not be easy or as easy as we want to think it is. But yeah, like be gentle. Maybe start with like Maria was mentioning about sandwiching, self-care, having fun, maybe having fun, like deeper emotion healing, that having fun again. That would definitely encourage you to do more, like to want to continue on this inner child healing.
Mhm.
Because otherwise
Yes.
it's take too deep. I promise you run.
Yeah, remember that you can't heal it all at once. It's going to take time. For most people, it's going to take some years, honestly. So take your time, be gentle with yourself, and have your self care along the way. Remember, you don't need to do it all at once, and you can't do it all at once. So,
Yes,
yes.
definitely. And I will let you like leave at that note. If there's anything else to add.
No, sounds good. I think it was a good discussion. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Maria. I really enjoyed this conversation. Glad to
Me
have
too.
you here.
Oh, thank you
Thank you.
so much. Um, yes, I know it's late there, so you have a great night.
Please have a good day and
Yeah.
enjoy whatever that you're going to do next. Yeah,
Absolutely. Happy healing. All right.
healing. Talk to you
Bye.
soon.